Hello, today we are hosting Mrs. Maria Arena at Brussels Talks. She's a top MEP on human rights at the European Parliament. Mrs. Arena is chairwoman of its subcommittee on human rights. She held several ministerial functions in various regional and federational government. She was Walloon Minister of Employment and Training. Then she was Federal Minister of the Civil Service and Social Integration. She was the Minister President of the French Community of Belgium. She then became Federal Minister for Social Integration, Pension and Life Studies. Since 2014, European elections, Arena has been member of the European Parliament. During her first term, she served on several posts, including the Committee on Women's Rights and Gender Equality. Since the 2019 elections, she has been a member of the Committee on Foreign Affairs. In addition to her committee assignments, Arena is a member of the European Parliament Intergroup on Children's Rights, the European Parliament Intergroup on LGBT rights. Today, I, Uğur Tok, and my colleague Marina Druka are going to discuss about human rights violations in Turkey with her. Mrs. Arena, welcome to Brussels Talks.
Mrs. Arena, thank you once again for accepting our invitation. Can I start with a question about Turkish citizens that have received threats by the Turkish government? So our first question is, we understand that dissidents who disagree with the Turkish government and government policies outside Turkey and the European Union countries receive death threats, harassment by far-right Turks. This is what happened with the journalist Bahar Kimyongür and Sevim Dağdelen. In some cases, it is reported that people are connected to these people are connected to the Turkish government. They are politicians with Kurdish roots, human rights activists, or just dissidents who fled the country after the coup d'etat. In these cases, how did European Union react? How is European Union going to protect Bahar's or anyone else's rights in the European Union?
Thank you. Thank you first for inviting me. It's really important for me to have this opportunity to talk about the situation of human rights in Turkey. As you know, we are working a lot on this at the European Parliament, and it is really important to have a voice on this situation on human rights. When it comes to Bahar Kimyongür situation or other European citizens being here and receiving harassment coming from the Turkish government or Turkish people, first we have to denounce this situation. We can't be silent. There are people here in the European countries receiving these death threats coming from Turkey. It is unacceptable, and we have to say that. And we have also to protect them. So I've asked to the Belgian government, as you know, I'm from Belgium and I know Bahar for a long time. He's just speaking about freedom of speech. He's just speaking about the situation in Turkey. And we have this freedom of speech here in Europe, and we have to be proud of it. But it's not only to be proud of freedom of speech, we have to protect this freedom of speech, and protect this principle is protect people also having these expressions. So I asked to the Belgian government to have a protection for Bahar, a special protection, because we have to take it very seriously, because this threat is coming from very violent people. But also, as you know, there is this wanted people list edited by the Turkish government. And you know that we have a lot of Turkish from origin people in Belgium. And we don't want Bahar Kimyongür being in a very difficult situation in his country. So it's really important to give him a protection. And what we have to do also at the European side is, when we are in contact with the Turkish authorities, is to use this diplomacy dialogue to put on the table this situation that is not acceptable. What I said is, if we have to protect our territory from a kind of invasion of Turkey, for example, in the Mediterranean, we have also to protect our territory when it comes to human rights and protection of people. It's exactly the same thing. So we have to use this diplomacy to say to Turkey that it is a problem.
After the coup d'etat in Turkey, roughly about 600,000 have been investigated for terror charges. 150,000 public servants have been dismissed, including teachers, academics, judges, etc. Nearly 100,000 of them have been jailed. It is said that nearly 50 billion euro worth of assets have been confiscated by government. Turkish judiciary failed to address these, and about 30,000 people applied for European Court of Human Rights as a last resort for their basic rights. However, European Court of Human Rights found these applications inadmissible due to the internal remedies having been exhausted in Turkey, which seems there is a judicial system that works properly in Turkey. What do you think about the stance of European Court of Human Rights upon this?
Yeah, I understand this very sad situation, and unfortunately, I can't comment the position of the European Court of Human Rights. But what I can say is that Turkey is a very top rank at the European Court of Human Rights, as well as Russia, for example. So it is not to say that it is not important for the European Court of Human Rights. And we have had, for example, a decision on Demirtas, for example, on the European Court of Human Rights, supporting the situation of Demirtas, even if the Turkey is not respecting what the court is asking for. But unfortunately, I can't comment this situation. Perhaps it's a question of process, perhaps, but it's not to say that the European Court of Human Rights is not, I must say, concerned about the situation in Turkey.
So our third question is about the press freedom. 90% of the Turkish media are controlled by the Turkish government. Press freedom is deteriorating, many journalists are in prison, many broadcast media have been forced to close due to their opposing stance. What is your opinion about it? What is your opinion about the press freedom as the head of the human of the Droit Committee on the issue of press freedom, not only in Turkey but in Europe in general?
Thank you, Marina, for this question. It's a very important one. When it comes to press freedom, we can't speak about democracy without having this press freedom. And we are seeing, not only in Europe, but also outside Europe, this shrinking space for journalism in the world. Unfortunately, as chair of the Human Rights Committee, I'm not dealing with this issue on European side, because as you know, we have another committee. The name is the Liberty and Fundamental Rights Committee, and they are working on this situation of shrinking space for journalism, for example, in countries such as Hungary, Poland, but also in other countries. So We have to be very, very aware of the situation in Europe, because it is difficult for Europe to promote this freedom of speech outside Europe if we are not a model on this freedom of speech. So for me, it is really important to protect freedom of speech inside Europe, to be sure that when we are outside Europe, we are not criticized about this freedom of speech in Europe. This is the first thing that we have to do. And we see outside Europe that journalists are really harassed in all countries, in all authoritarian regimes. And it is the case in Turkey, of course, just because it is a power. It is a power to inform people about the real situation in a country. And when the media are in the hand of the government, it is not the way of guaranteeing the freedom of speech. It is also the same thing when the media are only on the hand of the private sector. It is not freedom of speech, neither. So it is important to have this balanced situation to guarantee that people have access to all this information that they want to have access on. So for me, the situation now in Turkey is really a concern for us. And I've heard, for example, that the new information coming from Turkey and Egypt is also worrying me, because a lot of journalists being in Turkey, in exile in Turkey, and having criticism about Egypt, I've seen that the first answer to this is to close some media in Turkey because they have this freedom of speech. And so it is really something that we have to fight against, and also to protect this journalism, to do what they have to do when it comes to inform people. It is not to say that you can do and you can say whatever you want. Journalism is a profession. We have to have professional in journalism. We have to have people well trained, well prepared, well educated, to be sure that they are doing their work also. And perhaps we can answer also in another question is how it is possible to guarantee that the journalism are well educated and trained. And also in Turkey, we have seen that the government is trying to shrinking the education, and having at the beginning people thinking just as what the government is thinking, and not having a broad way of thinking in the country. So it is also something on which we have to work and support, for example, university in Turkey to guarantee that these young people can have and can receive the good education to be good journalists as it is.
Thank you for your answer.
Mrs. Arena, 2 days ago it was a bad day for Turkish democracy. As you might know, on March 17th, Ömer Faruk Gergerlioğlu, a well-known human rights activist and also a member of the Turkish parliament with People's Democratic Party, was stripped of his dutyship status, and he is going to be imprisoned for 1 year and 10 months due to a tweet post that he uploaded 5 years ago. The current Turkish government is now accused of violation of right of freedom of expression. The chair of the delegation of the EU, Turkey Joint Parliamentary Committee, Sergei Lagodinsky, the rapporteur for Turkey, Nacho Sanchez Amor, have condemned Gergerlioğlu's expulsion from the parliament. What are the other measures that your committee can take for Mr. Gergerlioğlu?
So first, I totally in line with my two colleagues, Lagodinsky and Nacho Sanchez. So we are working together on this issue on Turkey. And so I totally support what they have written, what they have said, and we are pledging to the High Representative, Mr. Borrell, to ask to the diplomacy and European diplomacy to ask for not to have this kind of attitude in Turkey. And we spoke about the journalists. It is worst when it comes to the opposition side, and when you take this capacity to make and to organize an opposition. But it is what we see in all the authoritarian regime. It is trying to shut the mouth of the opposition. And it is what we are seeing in Turkey for the moment. With my colleague Anna Neumann, she's working with me in the Droit Committee. She's from the Greens, and we are trying to put a system at the European Parliament to have a kind of network of European MEPs to be in link with parliamentary outside Europe being being in jail or being arrested by the government when they are just defending their position as opposition in a country, and trying to have a kind of, I don't know how to say it in English, a parrainage. Each member of the European Parliament must have in charge a parliamentary outside Europe to defend him as diplomacy, using, for example, the member states when they are in a country, making pressure, being there for the trials, asking for transparency, asking for the release of these people. So we want to be more active in this situation, because unfortunately, it is not only the case in Turkey. We know that there are a lot of people in Turkey being really arrested by the regime, but Turkey is not the only one, and we have to be responsible. We have to be in solidarity with these people, and so it is what we are trying to do at the European Parliament also.
Right. With regards to the women rights violations, we have many reports that many women in Turkey expressed sexual harassment during strip searches by policemen, especially on August 13th, 2020. Approximately 30 students reported that they were strip searched by the police, but the ruling government party strongly denies it. What is your opinion about that, and do you believe that it is true?
Of course, I believe it is true. We have received a lot of people asking and giving us this information. So I find it scandalous. We women, we need to trust our institution. We don't need to be a victim of institution. And when we are victim of this institution, it's unacceptable. I think it is a kind of humiliation and intimidation of what the women are trying to do in such a country. We work with a lot of countries. It is the same that we are living in Belarus, for example. You have a lot of women demonstrating for freedom and for democracy, and they are targeted by the institution, by the police, by the army, just to intimidate them. They know that women are a very strong power in a country. They can change a lot of things. And so for this, they are targeted in such a regime. So I just can't say that is scandalous to have this situation in a country.
Now let's continue a little bit more on women. Last Monday we celebrated the International Women's Day. Maybe many women in Turkey didn't celebrate it at all for different reasons. One reason is that since the coup d'etat happened in Turkey in 2016, many women, including pregnant women, have been unlawfully, due to Turkey's penal code, numbered 5275, imprisoned due to alleged Gulen links. As the chair of the have you ever discussed the issue in the committee, and what is your opinion and your comment on this?
Yeah, we know that Erdogan is using everything when it comes to punish people that are not agree with him. And we know that to be there, he used the Gulen movement, being supported by the Gulen movement. And after that, after the coup, he used the Gulen movement to say that they were the one who organized the coup. And he's just using this to, I must say, to attack people. He said that they are terrorists. He said that they are the one who are organizing the coup. He said that it is a threat for the country, and so he is using this. It is not to say that we will support one movement or another. It is to say that if someone is targeted to destroy a movement, and if he wants to destroy people just because they think in another way of his thinking, we have to protect them. Just like this, it is not to be partisan on a movement or not. It is to say that democracy is not destroying the one who are not thinking like you are thinking. Democracy is giving the possibility for everyone to express themselves. And it is not the way Erdogan is organizing the society. And so we have to denounce this situation. Being women or not, here it is more linked to the Gulen movement. But we know that you have a lot of activists, women in the movement, asking to be free of expression, free of living in a country. And so we have to support them also, but because they are women, but also because they are part of a movement that is a kind of opposition of what we are seeing in the country for the moment.
Thank you very much. I want to continue with a question very topical in Turkey at the moment. President Erdogan appointed a rector who is a businessman and a former election candidate for his party. I'm talking about the Boğaziçi rector elections. As traditionally, rectors from this university are from the same university, there have been protests. Erdogan said that a routine appointment was being used to provoke the universities. He also named protesters as terrorists and denounced LGBT youth. Upon these 2 days, 2 days ago, students were prosecuted for hanging LGBT flags on pictures of holy places. What do you think about the political authorities actively appointing rectors and interfering in academia?
Yeah, you are not surprised that my position is to say academia, university must be the place where you build a mind, a free mind. You have to build people that are aware of the situation, aware of a multiple, diverse society. But this is the way of thinking democracy. And we need academics that have different point of view, that can contest a position, a political position. We don't need to have academics thinking just like us. We need them to build something else. It is not the way of thinking of a regime, and it is the other way. We can see that Turkey is not taking the right side of democracy. It is an authoritarian regime, and they want to have in their hands all the different pieces of the society. The journalists, they want to close the mouth of the opposition, and they want to have their academics and to work on the brain of these young people, and to share this with them, being sure that the one they are going outside this university are thinking just like them. So it is really the way the regime are working all over the world is taking this academy under their hands. And so we can't agree on this. I was totally shocked when he considered the student being not in his line as terrorists. But I was mainly shocked when he told them that they were gay, because it is also a way of thinking. It is an homophobia. It was really something saying that I don't like gay, and if you are against me, you are gay. And so I was really shocked about this way of thinking in Turkey. I know a lot of activists in Turkey working for the LGBTI rights. I think that Turkey is a secular society, and it is something that we can't see this society being in the wrong way and having these people being targeted just because they are young, or because they are gay, or because they are not sharing the position of the government. So it is totally against the principle of a democracy.
Serena, let's stay a little bit more on this LGBTQ plus issue. We have another question for this topic. I'm sorry. We, as members of the European Union countries, are living in an LGBTQ plus freedom zone. But is this LGBTQ plus freedom zone enough for the European LGBTQ plus community? Is this enough?
It is not enough, and you know that we fight for LGBTQI rights for a long time in Europe. And for example, I'm coming from a country, Belgium, where for a long time people from the same sex can marry, can have children. They have all the freedom, they have all the rights, and I'm really proud of this. Unfortunately, we see in different countries, just like Poland, where there are some municipality where they decided not to accept gay people, and so it is in Europe. So it is not enough just to say that we want to have this LGBTQI free zone here in Europe. We want to be sure that the law are protecting them. And we have this anti-discrimination directive in Europe, in which you can't make discrimination on gender issue, for example, on race issues. It is linked to the employment, linked to the discrimination, and I think that we need to do more to give more rights to these people all over the Europe. And also, and it's what I said at the beginning, if we are not really clean on this, not having a zone in Europe where it is difficult for LGBTQI to be free, it will be very difficult for us to defend this right outside Europe. And what we see is when you have a conservative, an extra conservative party in a country, being in a country, in the government of a country, we see the two first reactions. These conservatives are targeting women. They want women to go back home, not to be in the public life. And the second target is the LGBTQI plus people being targeted. All over the world is exactly the same. We see that in Brazil, for example. We have seen it in Poland, and we see it in Turkey or some countries in Africa, for example. So fighting for these rights is fighting for democracy, is not fighting for a community. It is fighting for democracy.
Thank you for your answer.
Right. I just want to come back to the terrorism definition of terrorism in the country. As you might know, President Erdogan created the acronym FETO for Gulenists, and with the media power, of course. The group is called with this name now. With a governmental decree, anyone affiliated to FETO is terrorist now. Thus, having a bank account at Bankasya, a bank founded by the people close to the movement, or a journal subscription to this group is enough to be branded as 600,000 people have been investigated and thousands of people's life have been ruined. What is your take in the government's definition of terrorists?
It's a very sensitive issue because, as you know, we have the same discussion in Europe. Emergency law, we have seen in Europe, for example, after the terrorism attack in France or in other countries, we have had these emergencies law on how to define terrorism. And in Europe, we have had this terrorism situation in Spain or in Ireland, so it is something really sensitive. And I can understand that a country have legitimate security concerns. And it can be the case in Turkey. You have border with countries being in war, just like Syria. So security concern is important for a country and to protect citizens. But when you take a law, you have to respect the proportionality principle. And you can't put under this law everybody that is just trying to have a position in a country and not harming this country. And so for me, the way Turkey is using this law, anti-terrorism law, is not proportionate. And it is used not only for the question of security, but it is used now as how to combat the opponent of the regime. And this is not at all acceptable. And it is not respecting the international framework when it comes to terrorism law. So it is another example showing that Turkey is not using the way of democracy, but is more using the way of a regime.
Okay, let's stay a little bit more on Turkish politics. Again, 2 days ago, the top prosecutor filed an indictment against HDP, People's Democratic Party, for closure, calling it an undemocratic party that colludes with the terrorist group PKK. Has said that as many as 20,000 of its supporters have been detained since 2016, and 9 of its members of the parliament are already in jail, including the party chair. What do you think about the closure of a political party which attracted more than 11% of the votes?
It is violating democracy. Having more than 10% of the expression of the citizen not having the word in the country is just not respecting democracy. As you know, we have had a resolution on this situation. I spoke about the Demirtas situation. We have had an urgency at the European Parliament. And you must say that you can see how role at the European Parliament is denouncing. Of course, we are the Parliament, and if we put it on the table as an urgency, is to ask for the High Representative and the Council to do something on this. So what we say and what we have to say, what we have to do as European Parliament is to denounce this situation, to put on the agenda of the Council, Foreign Affairs Council, because when it comes to the foreign affairs, the competencies at the European level are more in the hand of the Council than in the hand of the Parliament or in the hand of the Commission of the High Representative. We need to have this agreement, this compromise in the Council. So it is important for us not to be silent on this. We have people being elected, representing a piece of the population of Turkey, asking them to represent them, and they have to have a voice. This is democracy. They have to have a voice. So what we are asking to the High Representative is to make pressure at the Turkish level to guarantee that these voices are free. And we have different tools. We have different tools that we have used against Turkey. The sanctions, for example, this sanction mechanism that we pledge on at the European Parliament to use it at the Foreign Affairs Council. We also froze the discussion on Turkey being members of the European Union. We also worked on the visa issues. We also worked on the I don't have this the modernization of the custom union between Europe and Turkey. We wanted to freeze it also. So we have some tools. The first is to make pressure with the diplomacy, but after we have tools to make pressure on the Erdogan regime. And we know that Erdogan is really in a fragile situation when it comes to the economy. What we don't want is to harm Turkish people, but we need to touch the environment of Erdogan to make pressure on him. And I think that economy is really important to make pressure on Erdogan regime.
So let's proceed to our last question and finish our podcast with this, covering the European topics. So, Mrs. Arena, you're also a member of the Affairs Committee. Please tell us some things about the forthcoming event in the European Council that will take place next Thursday here in Brussels regarding the issues in Eastern Mediterranean. What are we going to discuss there?
You know that with the changing of regime in United States, having Biden and no more Trump, we have seen that Mr. Erdogan have lost an ally in Trump administration. And we have seen a kind of change of attitude towards Europe. Before Biden re-elected, Erdogan was really aggressive against Europe. In the world, he was using against Europe, but also in his position when it comes to the Mediterranean, when it comes to Cyprus, when it comes to Libya. So it was something really aggressive attitude coming from Erdogan. We have seen a kind of change in the way they want to have relationship with Europe. But we can't close eyes on the situation of human rights in the country. We can't just be there when Erdogan needs us. And so it is important. I'm not saying that we don't want to have relationship with Turkey. Turkey is an important country. I must say that a very important country. But it is not to say that because they decided now to have a change in the rhetoric when it comes to the relationship with Europe, we just have to accept everything. So it is important to have this dynamic, to reinstall this dialogue with Turkey, a new way of dialogue with Turkey, but we must be really aware and cautious about this relationship. There is a kind of mistrust. Erdogan came with a very difficult position with Europe, and now it is difficult for us to trust the way they want to have a new relationship with Europe. So first, see what it is really changing in the policy of Erdogan, and after, perhaps having a new relationship with Turkey. But it will be very difficult.
Mrs. Arena, thank you very much for your opinion about various matters about rights violations in Turkey. We hope to host you here at Peace and Justice Brussels Talks again.
In the future.
Thank you, and thank you for your work.
Thank you once again for accepting our invitation. It was our honor to have you here expressing your opinions. Do we have to comment something else, to add something else? If you want to say something, Ms. Serena.
No, it's okay. I think we covered a lot of things. Turkey, and I hope that we will continue to discuss on it because it's really what I said. Turkey is a very important country, and Turkish people are really people that we want to help for democracy. So it is really important to have this dialogue and to see that Europe is not against people. It's with people, and this is what we have to do with Turkey.
This is very important. And should we close it?
Yeah, thanks very much. All the best. Have a nice day, Ms. Serena.
Thank you. Bye-bye.